Welcome in to another episode of the Armchair Illini podcast. My name is Alex. I'm the owner of Armchair Illini. We're here to do a game day preview episode where Illinois will take on the Wisconsin Badgers on Tuesday night in the State Farm Center in Champaign. Illinois coming off a tough loss on the road to Michigan State. So we're here to react a little bit about that. We did have a full episode with myself and Austin Berkland. Be sure to check that out where we specifically went through the good, the bad, and everything that Illinois needs to take away from that tough loss versus Michigan State. We're going to focus a lot on the Wisconsin Badgers. As always, we're going to be joined by my good friend, Robby Nardini. Before I bring him on, I do want to shout out our sponsor, Hamilton Walker Seafood, Steak, and Spirits, the best dining experience in all of Champaign-Urbana. Be sure to enter our home game giveaways. With us having 2 home games this week, we'll be only doing 1, I believe, off the top of my head. And so just check out our social media pages and enter the Hamilton Walker's gift card giveaways, $50 gift card giveaways for every home game. Hamilton Walker's, the best dining experience. With that being said, welcome, Robby Nardini. How you doing?
Doing well, Alex. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah.
I know it was a tough loss last night, unfortunately, but on to the next, and let's definitely talk some Wisconsin.
Yeah, wanted to get your thoughts on the Michigan State game. Obviously, myself and Austin just went for a little post-game episode, but what were your thoughts and what were some of your key takeaways from that tough loss?
Yeah, it was a tough one. I think we needed to lose eventually after a 12-game win streak, but really thought we had Michigan State on the ropes towards the end of the game. We took a decent lead towards in the second half, and I thought we were hopefully going to pull away, but Michigan State's a really good team. Breslin Center looked like it was popping, and unfortunately, they rebounded the ball a little bit better than us towards the end of the game, and they came out victorious.
Yeah, it was one of those games where a lot of the little things really added up, and we've talked about it a ton about this on our game day previews, and that's probably why we've picked against Illinois in some of these big games. But basically, there's going to be one game where Keaton Wagler looks human. Obviously, yesterday going 2 for 16, that was taken to an extreme, and then there's going to be one of those games. Last night was a perfect example where you miss Kylan Boswell. So I think having Kylan Boswell to help check Jeremy Fears, I don't know if he would fully stop him, but just another veteran presence to help with those little things. If you grab a board, you probably go home with the win. Lane violation was key. Jeremy missed that free throw, actually. And things like Z spiking the ball instead of keeping the ball in play on a block. Very, very small things. So I think Illinois can take some good things away from it. And, I think this team needed to be reminded, hey, if you have some of these small mistakes in March, your butt's going home. So with that being said, Illinois will head back home, Champaign, to play the Wisconsin Badgers on Tuesday night. It is Jake Davis wig night. So if you're a student, be sure to get there and get your Jake Davis wig. But 2 home games. What are kind of your expectations heading into this home game stretch?
Yeah, Jake Davis night on Tuesday night. He had some huge free throws towards the end of regulation. The biggest free throws he's probably ever taken in his life. So good thing he hit those, or the Twitter and Discord would be going off about Jake Davis if he missed those free throws. But hell of a rebound and foul for him towards the end of regulation. And Keaton had a great look that could have ended the game towards the end of regulation too, unfortunately. But on to the next, we got Wisconsin. They're a good team, and then Indiana after. Both should be tournament teams here in 2026. But Brad Underwood off a loss. His record is outstanding. Feel good about Wisconsin coming into our place. I know they're a pretty good team and projected around a 10 seed right now. They do have one of the best wins in all of college basketball going into Ann Arbor and beating Michigan. So should be a good battle. I definitely got us coming out with a win, and I'm excited to get back in the win column. I don't like losing anymore after you win so much. I don't like losing even though it's after a 12-game win streak.
Yeah, like Brad said, we're all crappy losers. And Brad Underwood, after a loss, I don't think there's been many times where he's lost 2 in a row. So you do bring up a good point there. Wisconsin, good team, like you said. They have a really nice win versus Michigan, but they are 2-5 in quad 1 games, 7-7 in the first 2 quadrants, 42 overall in the net. Right now, per KenPom, they are 41st, 38th overall in offensive efficiency, and 60th in defensive efficiency. They had quite the loss versus Indiana. Were you able to catch any bit of the Wisconsin loss by 1 in overtime to the Indiana Hoosiers in Assembly Hall in Bloomington?
Yeah, I watched that game yesterday, 11 a.m. Central start. So after Spaces on the Champagne Room, I got to watch that game, especially with Illinois having those two opponents coming up. I definitely wanted to watch that. I thought Wisconsin should have won that game. A couple questionable calls towards the end of the game, and Blackwell and Boyd still played well, and Winter actually had one of his better games, I thought, for Wisconsin. And going into Assembly Hall, that's a tough place to play. Indiana ended up getting the win, I think by one. I think the spread was 4.5 before that game, and Indiana really needed a win. I think they were 6-6 in the Big Ten and kind of fighting for their lives in the NCAA tournament. But I thought Wisconsin played well, all things considered. They're a good team with Boyd and Blackwell in the backcourt. Another game we're going to miss Kylan Boswell, similar to the Fierce situation. They got two really, really good guards that can light it up. I think Boyd is at about 20 a game. Blackwell's at 18-ish. And Blackwell from last year is one of the best players in the Big Ten. So going to be a huge test for our defense again.
Yeah, when I look at this Wisconsin team, I'm specifically looking at three guys. Obviously, Nick Boyd, John Blackwell, and Nolan Winter. Boyd, like you said, averaging 20 points. Blackwell is a junior, big guy. They're a big player for Wisconsin, averaging about 18 points, hit a really big shot to win over Minnesota at the buzzer. I feel like this is one of the first times where Illinois is playing like a full backcourt. We talked about playing Bennett Sturts, but then the running mate for Bennett Sturts isn't really that well known. Braden Smith and Fletcher Lawyer you talked about, but Fletcher was obviously struggling. So this is one of those where both backcourt players are really really good, Blackwell and Boyd. How do you see Illinois defending them, and how can they shut down the Badgers' really really impressive backcourt?
Yeah, it's a little bit different with other teams. I feel like when you play with Minnesota and Northwestern, they have one really good player and you can key on him. But Wisconsin does have a few good players and they're really good 3-point shooters as well. So I feel like against Northwestern and Michigan State, we were kind of forcing them to take contested threes, take tougher shots from outside the paint. But Wisconsin can hit those shots. So you're going to need to play all around great defense. Can't just run them off the line and expect them not to make a play. Boyd and Blackwell are really skilled players. Nolan Winter can make threes too. So similar to us, they have a big guy that can spread us out. He's a really good rebounder and passer as well. So I mean, Andre is probably going to have to be on Blackwell. Blackwell's a little bit bigger, more of a wing guard type player and high level scorer. So we probably have to put Andre on him, and then Keaton's going to have to rise to the occasion and play some great defense on Boyd. I know it's not the best matchup for Keaton, just because we rely on him so much offensively. But that goes back to, if we had Kylan on Boyd, that'd be a great matchup for us. But, they're a great offense. They're going to shoot a ton of threes. Similar to the Nebraska-Illinois game, there's going to be a ton of three-point shots in this game. I know we've been giving up threes, like I said, to Northwestern and Michigan State, but they can't shoot very well. And we can't just let Wisconsin take open threes all game.
Yeah, Keaton Wagler is going to have to step up the occasion because it seems like there's no other choice. You really wish that Kylan Boswell was here to help take that pressure off of him. But Keaton Wagler, 2 of 16 from the field versus Michigan State. I thought a positive was that he got to the line 12 times. Still, had 16 points, played 41 minutes. What are your thoughts on Keaton? Because it seemed like that was the first game where he seemed human, and it seems like it's been so long. Ever since the UConn game, he's just been on such a tear. But what do you think went into Keaton's really poor shooting night? I thought he got some good looks, but it looks like he was forcing some things at times. But what do you think about him heading into Wisconsin, and how can he have a rebound game, especially when he's asked to guard one of Wisconsin's best players?
Yeah, Michigan State has a really good defense. That's probably the best. That is the best defense we've played since UConn. I mean, I know Nebraska's a really good defense as well, but Michigan State is one of the best defenses in the entire country. They're really physical, really good rim protection. I think he tried to go a little bit too deep into the paint and go into the trees of Cooper, Kohler, and Carr, who are all really athletic, good rim protectors. And I think he could have made a pass while he was in the paint or stopped short. I know we're not a big mid-range team, but going into the trees at 170 pounds or whatever it is isn't the best move for him. I know he got blocked a couple times. You could argue he got fouled a couple times, but I mean, it's a really physical game. You're not going to get that call on the road every single time. So I think he started to force it a little bit towards the end as well. Settled for step back threes a couple times. I think he was just bothered overall by Michigan State's defense, and Wisconsin's defense isn't nearly as good. I'm sure they'll do a similar thing where they try to get the ball out of his hands. But I like our offense to have a bounce back game. I like him to play well just because Wisconsin's defense isn't nearly as good, nearly as physical. I think since January 1st, Wisconsin on Bart Torvik's 71 in adjusted defensive efficiency. So their offense has been really good, but they're not overly physical. They're not going to cause turnovers, and I think Keaton will be able to get comfortable versus them.
Yeah, I thought low key Jackson Kohler and Karsten Cooper had really, really good games. Obviously, Jackson Kohler had about 16 rebounds, I believe, off the top of my head. And they did a really good job of sealing their man to help Jeremy Fears get to the rim and get easy layups. So I think the front court was really, really underrated part of the Michigan State win. Looking at the Wisconsin front court, they got a guy named Nolan Winter who played 40 minutes versus IU, had 26 points, 12 rebounds. Other than that, their other front court players didn't seem to do too much. But Nolan Winter, what are some of your thoughts about him? Because it seems like he's one of the more underrated players in the Big Ten.
Yeah, I thought he would be a little bit better this year, just take another step. He has played well recently, especially against IU. But like I mentioned before, he's a big dude, 7 foot, similar to our guys. Not overly athletic, but very skilled, can shoot the ball. A really good passer for a big guy too. I think he's averaging over assists a game, and he's averaging about 8 rebounds a game. But he can spread you out, and he's really skilled, like I said. So it should be a good matchup for our big men, Tommy and Z, kind of similar players. I think Tommy and Z are both better than Nolan Winter, but he's playing well as of late, so definitely need to key on him defensively.
Yeah, with teams starting to key in on Keaton Wagler and really try to take the ball out of his hands, and really, really try to bother him full court and really try to get him out of his rhythm, things like that. Finishing is going to be a little bit tough with the way that his frame is, no matter how crafty and creative he is. But do you think we see more David Mirkovic at the point of attack? Because I think that really worked very well for Illinois. You saw some where Andrei Stojakovic and him were running pick and rolls, and you saw kind of the potential that David Mirkovic has if he does decide to come back to Illinois next year. David Mirkovic finished with 18.6 rebounds and 6 assists. Do you think we see more of that? And how do you think Illinois used Mirkovic as a primary ball handler?
Yeah, we'll give Merck whatever he needs to come back to Illinois. I think second year Merck will be a really, really good player, especially with increased responsibilities with Keaton gone and Kylan gone. I really think Merck will have a great season next year, and hopefully it's for the Illini. And I like him at the point guard position, just first of all to give Keaton a little break, bringing the ball up, especially if the other team's pressuring the ball. And that worked last night with Merck at point guard. You saw Andrei Stojakovic slip screens. Merck can handle the ball well enough to come off screens, similar to that Danny Wolf we talked about preseason with Merck. You get a big on big matchup ball screen for Merck. I like that a lot too. He's a really good passer, can shoot the ball. I saw a tweet that I forget who it was from, that Merck reminds him of Luka Doncic. I wouldn't go that far with the step back threes that Luka does, but just his passing ability and his ability to move at 6'9". He's basically a guard at 6'9". So I definitely like him bringing the ball up, working in ball screens, and his shot has been very, very well too. So I'm sure we'll see more of that, especially if Keaton's struggling.
Yeah, some weird NBA comparisons recently with Merck to Luka Doncic. And then I think Seth Greenberg spent, a couple minutes describing Keaton Wagler as Steph Curry. Um, I wouldn't really go with that. I think Merck has a lot of George Niang, and Joshua Jefferson over at Iowa State. Those are some really good comparisons for him as well. Danny Wolf was a little bit more kind of quick twitch, if you will, I thought. But similar kind of thing where he's running pick and rolls and things like that. Robbie, Illinois will have to play on Tuesday night. We've had some of these short preps before, and Illinois has done a really good job. But this is one of those games where they finished late last night, and now they're headed to play Tuesday night. They play a strict 7-man rotation at this point without Kylan Boswell. How do you think that affects this team? And with Keaton playing 41 minutes and Merck playing a lot of minutes, how do you think this team holds up in a quick turnaround?
Yeah, the overtime game, especially on the road too, is tough. But they're hopping on a charter flight, getting back at a reasonable hour on a Saturday night. No class today, so hopefully they get some time to sleep in, get some shots up, rest a little bit. I think they'll be fine. I know Wisconsin played on Saturday as well on the road at Indiana, 11 a.m. game, or I guess 12 Eastern in Bloomington, Indiana. But both teams are off similar rest. Both teams are in the grind of the Big Ten race, and Wisconsin's not. I mean, they have 4 losses now, but they're still trying to get into the top 4 of the Big Ten. They'll be motivated, and I think both teams are in a similar place where they have really good players that play a lot. They don't have a huge bench either. I think they rank similar to us in bench minutes, so I think it'll be a pretty even matchup between the two teams, especially with the rest. And like I said, I like Brad Underwood off a loss. He finds a way to really cater to his players after a loss, probably by yelling at him or yelling at them very loudly and being borderline disrespectful to them in practice. So I think we should be fine.
Illini fans, we are super proud to team up with the official NIL store over at Campus Inc. Be sure to use code Armchair Illini in all caps for 15% off of your order. We're talking about Jake Davis merch, Avicic Twins merch, even Brad Underwood, Adam Fletcher, and Tyler Underwood merch. They also have a campaign heading towards the Final Four where they are taking a trailer and heading to different college campuses. They have not announced an Illinois date yet, but I assume that they will. So be on the lookout for that. They're heading to UConn and Purdue as their first few stops. So really cool campaign going on at the official NIL store. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to the Armchair Illini YouTube channel. We just approached over 700 subs, so a lot of appreciation for you guys and your continued support. Be sure to drop feedback. We're always receptive to trying to make your game day experience the best as possible. Robby, with Illinois losing this game versus Michigan State, they're now half a game behind Michigan for the top of the Big Ten race. It seems like there are 4 teams in the thick of things. You can also include Purdue and maybe UCLA who have 9 wins, but Illinois is second right now in the Big Ten race. With them losing to Michigan State, how do you think that changes things, or does that affect kind of where they are in this race?
Yeah, it's tough for sure. Michigan definitely is the favorite to win the Big Ten now, just with 1 loss, and we have 2. But Illinois still controls their own destiny. They get Michigan at home on February 27th. And if you win out, I mean, you win the Big Ten because you beat Michigan and they'll have 2 losses. I know that's easier said than done. But if you look at the schedule, you got a couple tough games with Wisconsin and Indiana, and obviously going to the West Coast, which you could drop one there. USC and UCLA are both solid teams, but Illinois still controls its own destiny. So if I had to pick right now, I would obviously say Michigan as the favorite to win the Big Ten, but Illinois still has a chance. Teams drop games they shouldn't drop, just like Michigan lost at home to Wisconsin. So hopefully we'll see that. Michigan still plays at Purdue. They play at Illinois. They still play Michigan State. I know that one's at home, but there's still some opportunities for them to lose games. And like I said, Illinois has a chance to win the rest of their games. Even if they lose one, maybe they still have a chance. And I wouldn't count out Nebraska either as well. They have 2 losses and an easier schedule. They host Purdue on Tuesday night, which should be a good one. But other than that, they don't play any of the other top 5 teams. So it should be an interesting race coming down to the end.
Yeah, I think your goal should be to get a top 4 seed in the Big Ten so you can get that double bye in the Big Ten tournament, and then headed into your NCAA tournament. Hopefully you get a 2 seed. It might be tough with losing this Michigan State game, but if you can win a majority of your games, that's certainly a possibility as well. But you definitely want to get a 3 or a 4 seed, at the worst a 4 seed, just so you can maximize your chances heading into March. So big stretch of games for Illinois coming up. After Wisconsin, they will play IU on Sunday at home before heading out west to play USC and UCLA. Do you want to head into our official game day prediction?
Yeah, let's do it. And before we get into the Illinois-Wisconsin prediction, I need a Super Bowl tonight prediction, who you got and what the score is going to be.
Honestly, it's one of those Super Bowls where it's like, I don't really want to root for any of these teams. I am rooting for Devin Witherspoon to get one, just because I think
Sure.
Illinois, you got to represent. And the way that the Seattle Seahawks have been playing, it's really cool to watch. Brett Bielema also did kind of hint that he's waiting for the Super Bowl to be over to hire his defensive coordinator. Not sure if there's any relation or if there's a guy on the Seahawks staff that he is looking at. Be sure to follow our football content for all the latest discussion on that. But on the flip side of that, you got the Patriots, who have Badarian Lowe, former offensive tackle, and Tommy DeVito backing up Drake May. So you got a line on both sides. I will vote, let's go Seattle to win. I think that's defense. has looked really, really good. And Devin Witherspoon is just a winner, and he's playing a main role as opposed to DeVito and Vidarian, who are playing kind of backup roles. So I'm going to go Seahawks 21-14.
Solid. Okay. Low
Yeah.
scoring game. Yeah, I'm interested to see just in terms of our defensive coordinator, but I'll go with the Patriots. Tommy DeVito, my Italian brother, got to represent him in the Super Bowl. I'll go with the upset with the Patriots. And in terms of Illinois, Wisconsin, I'm not going to go with the upset. I got Illinois. I'll go Illinois 84, Wisconsin 75. Bounce back win for the Illini at home. Definitely got to take care of business in these couple quad two games coming up. And I still got Illinois as a 2 seed in my updated bracketology that'll release tomorrow. I think it'll be pretty hard for us to fall out of the 4 line, even if we lose a couple games. But hopefully we stay on that 2 line and get St. Louis as our destination.
Yep. Hopefully, St. Louis is the destination. That would be super cool for all Illini fans. I will also pick the Illini, though I'm very hesitant to do so, just because of what happened with the Michigan State game. But I think that Illinois has a little too much length, a little too much size, and coming off a loss, I think being at home will help them out quite a bit. And I expect a bounce back game from Keaton Wagler. So I'm going with Illinois to beat Wisconsin. I will go 78-74, close game to finish out that. Any other final thoughts?
That's all I got for you, Alex. I definitely want to get a nice win against Wisconsin. Got a couple Wisconsin friends or Wisconsin fan friends here in the city of Chicago that give me shit for Wisconsin takes all the time. So definitely need a win. This is a big one.
Yeah, agreed. Illini fans, this has been the Armchair Illini podcast. Check out our post-game recap episode of the Michigan State game in the description, and be sure to be following along for the rest of our game day previews before every game. Be sure to follow Robby Nardini on Twitter for all his great work with us and the Champagne Room. Link is in the description. And again, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel as it helps us out a ton. ILL, we will see you guys soon.